Today, we're going to dive into something pretty amazing, the rhythmic pulse of our planet. It's like a giant, constant carbon tug of war, and it's what keeps our entire world in balance.
So, let me ask you a question. Have you ever just stopped and pictured our planet breathing? Taking a huge, deep breath in and then slowly letting it out? It sounds a little strange, I know, but it's actually the perfect way to think about a cycle that's fundamental to, well, everything. Because in a very real way, it does breathe. Every single day, there's this constant tug of war going on, a delicate push and pull of carbon that keeps life as we know it running. So let's break down exactly how this cosmic tug of war really works. All right, let's start with one side of that rope. We'll call it the inhale. This is all about capturing carbon right out of the atmosphere. Now, the absolute superstars of this whole process are what scientists call terrestrial primary producers. It's a bit of a technical term, but it's really just a way of talking about organisms like plants and trees. They're called primary producers for a simple reason. They literally make their own food from sunlight, and in doing so, they form the foundation, the very bottom layer of all food chains on land. So how exactly do they pull this off? Well, it's through a process you've definitely heard of, photosynthesis. It's like a simple recipe. Step 1, they absorb carbon dioxide, that's CO2, from the air. Step 2, they drink up water from the soil through their roots. And for the final step, they use the energy from sunlight to cook those two ingredients together and turn them into glucose. That's their food. But here's the really cool part. That carbon from the CO2 doesn't just disappear. It gets captured and stored inside the plant's biomass. Its leaves, its trunk, its roots. The plant is literally building itself out of the air. Just think about that for a second.
And when you zoom out and look at the whole planet, you can start to think of massive forests as the Earth's great carbon warehouses. They are these enormous, living structures that are just packed with stored carbon, helping to keep our entire global climate in check.
Okay, so that's the inhale. Now, let's grab the other end of the rope and talk about the exhale. This is the part of the cycle where carbon gets released back into the atmosphere.
See, that carbon that was captured by the plant doesn't just stay there forever. It goes on a journey. When an herbivore, say a deer, comes along and eats that plant, it takes all that carbon into its own body. And then, if a carnivore, like a wolf, eats the deer, that carbon gets transferred again. It just keeps moving right on up the food chain.
And at every single step of that chain, something else is happening. It's called respiration. This is basically how all living things, from the tiniest bug to the biggest blue whale, cash in the energy they got from their food. They use that energy to live and grow and move, and, as a byproduct, they breathe out, returning carbon dioxide to the atmosphere.
And right here, this is where you can see that tug of war in its clearest form. Photosynthesis pulls CO2 in to create energy. Respiration uses that energy and pushes CO2 back out. They are perfect mirror images of each other, this beautiful, balanced cycle of give and take.
Now here's a crucial point. It's not just animals that respire. Every single living thing does it. Yep, even plants respire at the same time that they're photosynthesizing. And of course, that includes us. With every single breath you take, you are an active player in this gigantic global carbon cycle. For thousands and thousands of years, this whole cycle existed in a really delicate state of equilibrium. But that's changing. Let's take a look at how this beautiful system is getting knocked out of balance and the human impact behind it. So, in a healthy, natural world, the system worked perfectly. Photosynthesis would always store just a tiny bit more carbon than all the world's respiration released. It wasn't a lot, but over huge stretches of time, it meant that carbon was slowly but surely being pulled from the atmosphere and locked away.
But that's not what's happening anymore. The amount of carbon being released into the atmosphere has started to seriously outweigh the amount being absorbed. Human activity has tipped the scales, disrupting that natural balance that kept our climate stable for so long.
So what exactly is tipping the scales so hard? Well, it mainly comes down to two big things. First, deforestation. We're getting rid of those huge carbon warehouses, which weakens the planet's ability to inhale. And second, we're burning vegetation. This takes all that carbon that was safely locked away for ages and releases it all at once. It's like a massive, sudden exhale.
So this all leads to the really critical question, doesn't it? Can we restore the balance? Let's look ahead and see what that might actually take.
One of the key strategies is reforestation, basically planting a whole lot of trees. It's a direct way to fight back, right? You add more of those primary producers back into the system, and you boost the planet's ability to lock away carbon. It's all about strengthening the inhale side of the tug-of-war.
But, and this is a really crucial point, it's not some kind of instant fix. Newly planted forests take a long, long time. We're talking decades to mature and become as good at storing carbon as the old-growth forests they might be replacing. It's a long-term investment in our planet's health.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. We know we can help our planet inhale more by bringing back its forests. But maybe the even bigger challenge is figuring out how we as a species can learn to exhale less. Finding the answer to that is the real future of this planet's tug-of-war.